If you're talking about qualitative survey, then either you need to go for questionnaire or interview or focus group discussions. Of course, if you go for questionnaire, you can have a larger sample because it's going to take less time to fill up questionnaires. If you're going for interview, you need to restrict your sample size because it is going to take more time. But what are focus groups? Let us talk about focus groups in this second part of lecture 7. Focus groups are interviews with a larger group. So, interview is one-on-one. Focus group involves a discussion among a group of people. Let us say 5, 6, 7 people. Now, what number is ideal in a group? There are advantages and disadvantages of the number of people in a group. Of course, if you have too few people, you may not get a variety of opinion in a focus group discussion. If you have too many people, then the same people would tend to talk and dominate the group, and the voices of some people may be lost in a focus group. Ideally, I would say for a focus group, 5 to 7 is a good number. Now, focus group discussion also has a prepared set of questions that you go with. And you ask the first question, people discuss. And you can probe, you can sort of animate the discussion with other questions. But don't forget your structure, your sequence of questions. Now, can the researcher be the moderator of the discussion? So when we have a focus group discussion, we need a moderator. Of course, that moderator could be the researcher themselves, but it also depends on how you're going to capture the data. Often in interviews, recording is possible, audio recording is possible. In focus group, you need to have a very sensitive microphone to record audio data. And therefore, because if they are not seated close by, it's difficult to record. Recording is the best way, even in focus group discussions. Sometimes video recording is good because most video cameras are able to pick up even the sound in a group, especially if you have good microphones. But you might want to have someone else taking notes as the discussion goes on, so that you also have some field notes. But if you are the one taking notes and you are the researcher and you are the moderator, then it is not going to be the efficient way of doing a focus group discussion. You need to involve other people. You have to delegate responsibilities in doing focus group. Now, let us talk about types of focus group discussions. The types follow from the nature of the group. You can have homogeneous groups. Homogeneous means the members in a group are of same kind. Let us say you want to talk about gender issues in a culture. You can go for homogeneous groups or heterogeneous groups. You could bring women together and men together by themselves. So you could have focus group discussions among women. You could have focus group discussions among men. There are advantages and disadvantages. If you have homogeneous groups, then often, particularly in gender issues, in traditional societies, women by themselves may be more comfortable talking about these issues when they are by themselves. But if you bring them together with men, men might end up talking. So there are similar situations like management and staff. Top management, middle management, and lower sort of support staff. If you bring them all together in a stakeholder meeting, then you may not, that would be called a heterogeneous group. You may not get opinion of all the subgroups within that group. But heterogeneous groups have also advantage that you can see the dynamics of these relationships in the group. You could have some varied opinion in a heterogeneous groups. But always, you don't need to create groups to have a focus group discussion. So the third type of group is what I would call pre-existing groups. Let us say you are doing a research in the context of a Catholic church. You could use small Christian communities. They are pre-existing groups for your focus group discussion. You don't need to bring people all the time together for the purpose of a focus group. You could go to the existing groups and collect data in a scientific way. It could be an academic board meeting. It could be a management team meeting. It could be a women welfare group, which are already existing, where you go in and begin a focus group discussion, and you can collect data that way. So you just have to be creative. You just have to use what is available in collecting data. There is a specific way of carrying out focus group discussion, and that's beginning to be used very well in especially cultural context, and this is called Delphi process. Delphi process is one way of carrying out focus group discussion, whereby you don't have too many focus groups. You have the same group over a series of focus group discussions. Often they are experts. Let us say you want to define a construct. You want to define a variable. You want to come up with dimensions of a situation in such a way that you can measure them. You could go for a focus group. You could have a focus group that is called a Delphi process. You gather a group of experts. You meet with them in a series of focus groups, let us say 3-4 times, and you come up with a definition of a system. You come up with causes of a problem. And then what happens is, in the first time, you have a brainstorming. You summarize their contributions, you feed back to them in a draft, and then they begin to improve the draft. So in a series of focus group discussions, finally, you will end up with a good definition, or you will end up with a good identification of factors that contribute to a problem. And this is called Delphi process. The word Delphi comes from the Greek, the oracle of Delphi, because experts know everything. And Delphi knew everything in the Greek culture.